Good evening. My name is Mark Bakk. As he said, I'm our Director of Finance and Administration. Some of you know me in here, and you'd know that I don't typically get accused of fitting the mold as your average CPA. But I do like numbers, charts, and graphs, but I also understand that you like door prizes at the end of the meeting. So I will do my best to keep you out of the weeds and keep it moving. And if you've been to previous meetings, you also know that I make pretty poor attempts at making jokes. So I try to keep it to accountant-based jokes because people don't get offended when you're kind of making fun of yourself. So first one I'll start with, how do you know that your financial guy has gotten soft? He actually listens to engineering before saying no. Okay, I like to pick on engineers too, and these guys know this. I love these guys. You know how you drive an engineer totally insane? Tape him to a chair, stand in front of him, and fold a road map the wrong way. All right, I'll go back to my day job. First item on the list is thank you. I'll be here all night. First item on the list is our annual audit. Our board of directors contracted with Brady Martz, an independent accounting firm out of Grand Forks, North Dakota, for the 2016 audit. Brady Martz did issue a clean opinion of our accounting controls. They also noted that we're in full compliance with the financial requirements of our major lender, which is the federal government's Rural Utility Service, the RUS. If you've been around a while and looking around the room, some of you have, you might remember that as the REA. Well, that's the RUS now. If you want to stay current on our financial statements, we do publish them on our website monthly. We also include a condensed version in our monthly Newsline newsletter. The full set of 2016 year-end financials is included in your annual report, which is in your registration bag. In addition to the audit, I want to touch on a few high-level topics that have an impact on financials for us from year to year. I'm going to start with interest rates. We borrow at 0.25% above the federal funds rate, or 0.25% above Treasury rates. We've enjoyed a really extended period of historically low interest rates. In the last 6 months plus, you see I've got a little red box there that the Federal Reserve has started to bump up interest rates, but the good news on that is in 2015 and in 2016, we locked up about $92 million of our long-term debt at these historically low interest rates. What that allows us to do is finance line construction projects and maintenance projects at literally pennies on the dollar. That helps minimize rate impacts today as well as into the future. But just like your car or your house, we have ongoing expenses for operation and maintenance of our distribution system so we can serve you year in and year out. We continue to replace plant, and by plant I mean our distribution infrastructure, our poles and wires and substations. Some of that's more than 60 years old and it's reaching the end of its useful life. As you can see on the screen behind me, the number of miles that we maintain is far greater than most co-ops in the state and in the nation. At the end of 2015, we have over 8,200 miles of line out on our system. Your average Minnesota or national co-op that are those green and blue bars, they're around 2,000, 2,500 typically. We have over 8,000. Just the size of our system and the size of our geographic service territory has a direct impact on the cost of operation and maintenance of that system. Moving into the financial statements, and I'll try to keep this pretty high level. Our balance sheet shows more than $288 million in assets. Some examples of that spread across our 11,000 square mile service territory are substations. We've got 47 substations. More than 8,000 miles of line, about 3/4 of it is overhead line. So some of the tree stuff you heard about, that directly impacts overhead lines. 69,000-ish meters, a fleet of more than 100 vehicles, tens of thousands of transformers, and 8 buildings that house our cooperative employees across what is one of the largest geographic service territories for electric co-ops in the United States. In 2016 alone, we invested nearly $15 million in our distribution system so that it can continue to work in your behalf and benefit you. Member equity, which represents your ownership share of the cooperative, that's at about 35.7% of our assets, or $78.2 million. That member equity helps offset what we have to borrow from our lenders to be able to build and maintain our electric distribution system. Last year, we paid back $3.5 million of our member equity, and that's in the form of capital credit retirements. The typical retirement you saw, we did a general retirement in December. The typical member received about $40. You saw it as a credit on your December bill. Would have said capital credit applied in bright green letters. Turn to the statement of operations. We're a nonprofit, it's called a statement of operations. In a typical world, for-profit world, it's called the income statement. Wholesale power accounts for the majority of our annual cost. We're the distribution end of the business. We purchase our power from Great River Energy, who is the power generation and the transmission business. We own the substations and take it from there to your homes and businesses. That was $46.1 million in 2016 in wholesale power cost. The overall cost of doing business when you throw in our local costs was $85.5 million in 2016. That includes about $3.5 million of weather-related outage restoration work in 2016, and about $14 million of depreciation and interest expense, which is a direct ownership cost of our distribution system. Now, our energy-wise rates did increase slightly a year ago due to increases in the wholesale end of the business. That helped to offset some of the negative impacts on our financial statements. If you're seeing it on here, we had a decrease of 12 million kilowatt hours sold from 2015 into 2016. We are not for profit. We are required to generate a margin. Our lenders require that, and that is so they can assure it, and we want to be able to maintain a viable co-op, a healthy co-op, and be able to do the necessary maintenance so that our distribution system can continue to serve you. Our operating margin was $1.6 million for 2016. That may sound like a lot, but that's pretty tight. It's okay by our lender standards, but we'd like to see it a little higher than that. One more major storm in 2016 could have wiped out all of that. Now, the good news, though, our long-term rate philosophy, which we adopted in 2012, is doing what it was intended to do. And that's to recover enough of our costs through a fixed component so that there's stability when energy sales and expenses fluctuate from year to year. Recovering the proper amount of our cost through that monthly fixed charge helps us manage responsibly for the long term and make investments in the safety and reliability of our system. It also minimizes potential knee-jerk reactions to your electric rates, the per kilowatt hour rate, when sales decrease or expenses jump. So it's enabled us to maintain stability in electric rates. If you attended any of our district meetings over this past few months, you heard some more good news. Our general service rates didn't change, and neither did the monthly service availability charge or that fixed charge. That was well received, especially considering the weather year we had in 2016. The exception of a couple of really long, cold winters. You see it on here, this is our total kilowatt hours sold. 2013 and 2014 were really long, cold winters. With the exception of that, we have a lot of electric heat, so that drove up our sales in those few years. The exception to those 2 years, we've seen really stagnant kilowatt hour sales, very little growth. Also, very minimal growth in new services, meaning new home constructions or new businesses. We're not seeing much growth in our system. On the positive side, though, like I said before, our rates have helped to offset some of those what would be negative factors and unstable weather. A couple things to touch on. Our Smart Hub app, I'd encourage you to take a look at that. It's an online app. You can get to it from a website, web browser, or from a smartphone or tablet device. In that app, you could pay your bill, view your usage, look at your bills from month to month, schedule a payment, report outages directly from the app. There's a link to our outage map right from the app. You can also get notified. You can sign up for notifications. If you have one of our interruptible heating loads, let's say you've got dual fuel, you can sign up for either a text or an email notification. We will let you know if we're going to control your heat, so you'll be aware. Let's say it's from 4 to 8 o'clock on some night. We will let you know ahead of time that your heat's going to be controlled, so you can plan accordingly. Another great program available is our Co-op Connections card. It's a discount card, allow you to save money on retail goods or services, or even restaurants within our service territory at participating businesses. You can check out our booth outside, or check out our website for a list of what those businesses are. Before I close it up, I'm going to tell you a little story. My wife couldn't sleep the other night, so she rolled over and she, "Honey, I can't sleep. Will you tell me about your work?" All right, last one. You ever heard the joke about the interesting accountant? No? Me either.